Then Shalom. This is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday law class. So we're going to go into the dietary law and some disputations that people have, because there's some people that say obviously you shouldn't eat meat. So we're going to go into all of that. There's some people that say things that our teeth ain't designed for us to eat meat. So we're going to go into all of those things also. So we're going to go into the dietary law, into the foods we can eat, into the foods we can't eat, those kind of things. So if you got any questions, just type them in and we'll get to them. But that's what we're trying to cover today. The dietary law, a little bit in depth, what you can eat, what you can't eat, cloven-footed animals, animals that chew the cud, what those things mean and so forth, what fish you can eat in the sea, what fish you can't eat, those kind of things. So we're going to go into what you can eat and what you can't eat. So we're going to start off in the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 11.
This is Genesis chapter 1 and verse 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass.
So the Lord said what?
Let the earth bring forth grass.
So everything in life has a position. And the Lord said, let the earth bring forth grass. Why? And if you know the order of creation, the Lord brought forth all these things before he brought forth cattle, before he brought forth mankind. So it says, let the earth bring forth grass. Why? Because that's what cattle eat. That's what horses and cows and stuff eat. They eat the grass. That's their food. So at this time, the grass is being created. Why? Because the Lord likes a certain order and he creates things perfect. So he's created the grass and the plants and the herbs and all of these things. All these things is created before we get here. So when we get here, we ain't starving to death. So when the cattle get here, they ain't starving to death. So all these things is created. So as soon as those things is here, they've got food and some way of survival.
Right.
Go ahead.
The herb yielding seed.
The herb yielding seed, meaning the herbs the Lord created, they all had seeds. And what happens? Once you replant those seeds, it grows back. So the herb yielding seeds, the herbs that the Lord created, they had seeds in it also. Go ahead.
And the fruit tree yield
and the what?
And the fruit tree.
Go ahead.
Yielding fruit.
And the fruit trees also. So the Lord planted trees which grows fruit, which got an orange tree, apple tree, planted those things, and then the seeds which is inside the apple, which you then replant, and then you water it and so forth. And then what happens? These more trees then grow. So the Lord did what? Put seed inside things, so everything can come back on the earth. The same how the Lord put seed inside a man, so many more of us can come back on the earth. Meaning this man will plant his seed in a woman, she will give birth. Then when that child's older, that child will plant his seed in a woman, his woman will give birth. And that way the earth stays flowing. So the Lord done that with everything. Done it with trees, put seed in them. Why? So people can plant them seeds and those trees can keep growing back. So everything has seed inside it so it can keep on coming back. So the Lord gave what? A man seed so he can plant it in a woman and children can come. Then when it's time for him to pass away, them children will have children. Them children will have children. He also done it with trees. So that's why there's still trees that was around at that time, which is still around today. Why? Because the Lord put seed inside these fruits. So these fruits can be planted in the earth and keep coming back, which provides what? Man with food, which provides what? Man with herbs, with medicines and so forth. So the Lord did that. Now, when I say medicines, I ain't talking about cannabis that you're supposed to smoke and all of them things. Herbs was never put on the earth for you to smoke it, man.
Right.
You was meant to consume these things by eating. So we was meant to consume these things by eating and not smoking them. Go ahead.
Whose seed is in itself.
Whose what?
Whose seed is in itself.
And all these things, seeds is in itself. So the Lord done the creation. This was when the earth was in its raw form. The Lord created everything. And then after that, he put seed and everything. Why? So he doesn't have to keep recreating. What would happen is we would then start the creation. Now, the Lord created a man, gave him seed. He would then have sex with a woman and create babies. Then they would create babies. Then they would create babies. Same with these trees. Now, at first, the Lord planted them and put seed in them so they can keep creating and creating and creating. Go ahead.
Upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb.
And the earth brought forth grass and herb. And now, if you look at what cattle eats, they eat grass and plants. And most of them eat grass and plants, and they chew the cud. So the ones that do that, that's the ones you can eat. They have to be cloven footed also. So this is now the whole setup. Read on.
And herb yielding seed after his kind.
Go ahead.
And the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself.
So now, the seed in the fruits. Now in Tesco, they sell things which is seedless fruits. They do that. Why? Because they don't want you to go in your garden and plant an apple tree. Because they want you to come to them and buy your apples. They want you to come to them and buy your oranges. I'm sure they even made it illegal that you can even grow these things in your garden. Why? Because they want to make all the money. Whereas the Lord gave us these things for free, and you would plant the seeds, and then they would grow back over time. Plum trees, apple trees, all of those things. Go ahead.
After his kind.
After his kind, meaning everything came back after his kind. Now, if you had an orange and you planted them orange seeds, oranges would come back. You had an apple and you planted them apples, apples would come back. So that's what it means after his kind, meaning whatever the seed is from, that is what's going to come back in the earth. Go ahead.
And God saw that it was good.
And the Most High saw the work that Christ and the angels did. I said, this is Tawab, man. He saw that it was good. I said, yeah, man, this works Tawab. Drop that. Give me a Genesis chapter 1 and verse 20.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly.
Go ahead.
The moving creature that have life.
So now, this is the Lord creating what? The moving creature that have life. Go ahead.
And fowl that may fly above the earth.
And fowl. Now, a fowl is a bird. But obviously nowadays, they've changed the name of a fowl to mean just chicken or poultry. But back then, a fowl was what? Anything that flied in the earth, that flied in the sky. So that would be your eagles, all types of birds. That's what it would be. But nowadays, they just make out like a fowl is chicken or poultry, when obviously it was just talking about every flying object. Go ahead.
In the open firmament of heaven.
In the open firmament of heaven. Go ahead.
And God created whales.
And God created whales. So this is the Lord creating all these things. So people saying, pigs are evil and these things are evil. Only Muslims say that because they've got a personal vendetta against pork. Whereas pigs ain't evil. They serve a purpose. You just can't eat them. Whereas whales ain't evil. They serve a purpose. You just can't eat them. Whereas donkeys ain't evil. They serve a purpose. You just can't eat them. But Muslims believe that, okay, then we have to hate pork and pigs are disgusting and we hate them and we want to kill all of them. Listen, man, the Lord created pigs for a reason. So now what we're reading is the Lord creating, what verse you at?
Verse 21.
Yeah, go ahead.
And every living creature that moveth.
And the Lord created every living creature that moves. So this is all the animals which was in the water. The Lord created them, every last one of them. And now even till this day, the certain creatures in the waters that they ain't discovered. Why? Because certain animals only come to the surface in the summer, and then by the time they take out their phone to take a picture, they get a quick picture, and then they can't work out what it is. They just know, okay, we ain't seen it before. They just know we know this big animal exists, but we don't know what it is. So this is why you always see them by the seas trying to set nests and traps, trying to catch certain whales. So then they catch those whales and so forth, and then they want to see what they're made of, and then they want to see how big they are and so forth. So when people say Jonah couldn't have been swallowed by a big fish, they ain't discovered everything which is in the sea just yet, man. Right? They ain't discovered the depths of the sea. They ain't discovered what's in the bottom of the sea. And by the way, there is whales whose mouth opens 5 feet from the side. It opens. So this way, their mouth is 5 feet wide and it opens. And these whales, they don't eat humans. They eat micro, whatever they call it. They eat micro, whatever they call it. I can't remember the name for it. Plankton. That's what they eat. They eat plankton and stuff. So it's very possible that a man could get swallowed by one of those, man. And it says that with those whales, water goes to one part, like in their bodies, like a divider. Water goes one side, and food goes to the other side. So it's very possible that it could have been swallowed by a whale. People make it like it's impossible. It's very possible when you actually study whales and so forth, you'll realize, okay, these things is possible. Read on.
Take the next left onto Heaton Street, 84540.
Salakia.
Good.
And God created Salakia, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind.
So now the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind. So what happened? The whales brought forth more whales. The fish brought forth more fish. The octopus brought forth more octopuses after its kind. So the Lord created these things and put seed in them. And then what happened? They brought forth more after their kind. So the Lord gave even the animals an order. Their order was what? To be fruitful and multiply. Same order which was given to us. Read on.
And every winged fowl,
And every winged fowl, meaning every bird that flies, man. The Lord created all of those. Go ahead.
after his kind,
And he made those after his kind. So all these animals is made by kinds. Even now, you look at animals today, and they're all made by kind. This is why you see like 1,000,000 zebras, 1,000,000 horses, because these things is made after his kind. Go ahead.
and God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and
And
multiply,
then he blessed those animals and said, "Be fruitful and multiply." Go ahead.
and fill the waters in the seas."
And then he told them, "Fill the waters in the seas." And this is why now, in the waters, you have what? Fish, whales, sharks, octopuses, all of those things. And some things in the sea you can't eat. Some things in the sea you can eat. Everything serves a purpose, but not everything is food. So the Lord has told us what is food and what isn't food. But the Lord created all these things to serve a purpose. Now, some you can eat, some you can't eat. Now, if you go fishing and you catch a fish that's got no fins and scales, you have to throw it back. Why? Because you can't eat it. Whereas if you do catch one with fins and scales, you can eat it because that is clean. But the one with no fins and scales is unclean. Read on.
And let fowl multiply in the earth,
And let fowl multiply in the earth. This is why there's so much birds, because they multiplied in the earth. Go ahead.
and the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
And the evening and the morning with the fifth day. Go ahead.
And God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind,
So now the Lord's creating the living creature, meaning now he's creating what? Animals which live on land. So all animals which live on land, which walk on all fours, all those kind of beasts. A beast just means what? A large land animal that walks on fours, like a rhinoceros would be a beast. A horse would be a beast. It's talking about those things. The Lord's creating cattle and stuff now. Go ahead.
after his kind,
Go ahead.
cattle, and the creeping thing,
So now it says the Lord created cattle and the creeping things. So now we're going to show you some of the Lord's beautiful creations. Get me close, so we've got a book for everything. Got a book for everything. We're going to take this cover off. Let's see if I can find some. So what we have right here, this is the animal encyclopedia. So everything you find in here is what? Some of the Lord's creation. So let's see if we can find some cattle or whatever. So this has all types. It has mammals, has birds, reptiles, amphibians, fishes, invertebrates. Let me see. So these things right here is good books to have, because then you can look at the animals and then you can tell what's clean and what's unclean. So you just flip through to certain sections what you want. I'm just trying to find. Yeah, like show this. Show this page or whatever. So these right here is animals that you can't eat. These look like rodents a bit. So these right here is things that obviously you can't eat. So animals like that you can't eat. Why? Because they ain't cloven footed. They don't chew the cud. So if you look at these animals right here, these animals walk on their paws. Now in the law it tells you you can't eat stuff which walks on its paws. So think rodents like these, they walk on their paws, so you can't eat them. These things would be unclean to you. So these things right here is what the Chinese eat. Obviously, we don't eat these things. Only the Chinese eat these things because they don't follow the dietary law, but we do follow the dietary law. So we understand things like this we can't eat. Pastor, let me find something else. So these are things we can't eat because obviously they walk on their paws. Let me see if I can say something. Oh, get this some of the pangolins. So now this is what brought forth coronavirus, things like this. So these is pangolins right there. So this is what the Chinese was eating, which brought forth all these diseases. Coronavirus, they was eating these things and bats. Now these things is unclean according to the law. Why? Because it walks on its paws and it don't have cloven feet and it doesn't chew the cud. So these things are unclean to you, but Chinese people don't understand that. So they eat all of these things, and all of these things that they eat is what brings forth coronavirus, is which brings forth the flu, swine flu, and all of them things, which is what brings forth Ebola and AIDS and all of them things. Why? Because you're eating foods that the Lord said not to eat. So you eating these foods it's going to make you sick. That's why the Lord gave you a dietary law. Why? Because these things you're not supposed to eat. These things serve some purpose. Like what these things are supposed to do, they're supposed to eat things like little insects or whatever. They're supposed to eat pests or whatever they eat. But then what happened? Humans started consuming these things, and then they wonder why they become sick, because we're eating pangolins and all of them things. So this is what the Chinese was eating, these things right here that we ain't supposed to be eating. Let me see if I can find some more. Let me see that here. That's what exactly. That's why we got the Omicron, because people are eating things like these. So now, even in the monkey family, this is all different type of monkeys, different families of monkeys that Chinese eat, because they eat Africans eat it. Actually, they eat what bush meat. So this is what Africans eat. This is the bush meat that they eat. So they see these things in the bushes, and then to them, they think it's food, and they eat these things. Whereas we have a dietary law which forbids us from eating these things. Why? Because these things walk on all fours, and they don't have what? Cloven feet, or they don't chew the cud. So these things is unclean to us. So we ain't supposed to touch these things. But being in Africa, what do? They eat these things. They go through the bush and the jungle, and whatever they can catch, they kill it and eat it, because they eat anything. Whereas even if these die, we can't touch them because it's unclean unto us. Let me see if there's any more. Does it know what?
Like a big fire.
You know what? Show the picture of this bear, because that's a paw. See if you can show that bear's paw. So when the Bible says they've got paws, this is what. Bring it closer to that top one there. A bit closer. So that is a paw right there. So when the Bible says whatever's got paws, that's what it's talking about. That is a paw right there. So you can't be eating bears and lions and rabbits, because all these things have paws. So these things ain't for human consumption. But what happens is our people don't want to follow the dietary law. So then they eat these things and then they become sick. That's it. You can drop that. I don't know. Let me see if we can find some more. But go back to the scripture. Let me see if we can actually find something that we can eat. But there's a lot of things that you can't eat, as you're seeing. All these different type of bears and so forth. You can't eat seals and stuff. You can't eat cheetahs and mongooses and lions. You can't eat those things. Now, hold on. Now show me. Hold on. What's this one? give me a second. You also can't eat horses and zebras and stuff. So there's some people who will tell you horse meat is good for protein. Those is things that you can't eat. Hold on, let me see. Now this is. Hold on, let me find. Now show these ones. Now show some of these sheep on this side, and then after that we don't need to show no more. So now these right here is sheep. So now these are the things the Lord said we can eat: sheep, ox, cows. So if you look at that top picture there, zoom in on it where it says sheep. Zoom in. Look for the. Then again, I don't think they'll see it online. So things like that is what you can eat. Because now go to the feet on that. Now the feet on these, you can't see it from the picture. Go to the one on the left, that one there, yeah. So now you can see that the feet is what? Cloven foot. Can you see the split in the foot? You can see the split in the foot from there, right? So that's what a cloven foot is when the foot is split like that. And then it also has to be cloven footed and it has to chew the cud. So these are some of the animals that we can eat, because these is sheep, which is what? Cloven footed, and it chews the cud. So now we're going to go to Leviticus, the 11th chapter, where we read the dietary law now. So take me to Leviticus, the 11th chapter. And then now we're going to go over what's in Leviticus, the 11th chapter.
This is Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat.
So now we're in Leviticus, the 11th chapter, and now it's telling you these is the beast which ye shall eat. So now it's going to give you the things that a beast needs to have in order for you to eat it. So now we're going to see what this beast has to have, which means you're allowed to eat it. Go ahead.
Among all the beasts that are on the earth.
Amongst all the beasts that are of the earth. So we showed you a ton of those beasts that you couldn't eat. We showed you them for a reason. Why? Because you can't eat them. We also went to Genesis, where the Lord created all those beasts. And some you can eat, some you can't eat. So now we're going to see what the criteria is of what you can and can't eat. Go ahead.
So, okay, just a quick question. So how do people read this and say we can't eat meat?
Because while it is the vegetarians, most of them. So because the vegetarians, they'll say, oh, man was never made to consume meat. But we're going to go to that scripture after, where it talks about those that are weak in the faith only eat herbs. So there's some men who believe meat's completely bad, who believe you shouldn't be eating animals because they eat some nonsense like that. They say we shouldn't be eating animals. But right here, the Lord is saying we're allowed to eat certain beasts. Right. So if the Lord says we're allowed to do it, then we're allowed to do it. But later on, we're going to go into all of that with the canine teeth and the herbivore teeth. You've heard that one before, innit?
Yeah.
Where people say people ain't supposed to be consuming meat because we've got flat teeth like giraffes do. Because obviously they have flat teeth. Why? Because they eat bushes and trees and grass. And they'll be like, we ain't got carnivore teeth because carnivore teeth is only meant to be for people that eat meat like lions and all this nonsense. That's what they'll give you. But a bit later on, we'll break the whole thing down. But go ahead.
Whatsoever part of the hoof and is cloven footed.
Whatsoever what?
Whatsoever part of the hoof and is cloven footed.
So now part in the hoof is what? It's a foot where there's a split in the middle. Let me see if I can pull up a picture. So what it has to be cloven footed. Hold on, let me see if I can get a decent picture of a cloven foot.
That's curry goat, that is.
Listen, which is the clearest one? Probably this one, innit? This one.
Yeah, you can use that one.
All right, then. This. All right, so this right here is a cloven hoof. You see where it's got the split there. Now this is from underneath. They're showing a picture from underneath. So this is what it's talking about. So read that verse again.
Whatsoever part of the hoof and is cloven footed.
So it says whatsoever part of the hoof and is cloven footed. So now this right here, part of the hoof and cloven footed is the same thing. It's just talking about the split in the middle. So that's what that's talking about. So it has to look like this in order for you. That's one criteria for you to be able to consume it. It has to be cloven footed. So that's one of the criterias. Go ahead.
And cheweth the cud.
And what?
And cheweth the cud.
And cheweth the cud. So now, animals which are cloven footed and cheweth the cud is animals like a cow, deers, antelopes, gazelles, goats, and sheep. But also, pigs are cloven footed. Pigs are also cloven footed, but you can't eat pigs. Why? Because it doesn't chew off the cud. So read that part about chewing the cud.
And chew the cud.
So now it has to be cloven footed and it has to chew the cud. Now, pigs are cloven footed, but they don't chew the cud. So you can't eat pigs. Now, camels chew the cud, half chew the cud, but they ain't cloven footed, so you can't eat camels. So the animals that you can eat, which chew the cud and which is cloven footed, is deers, antelopes, goats, and sheep, and cows and stuff. Those is the animals that you can eat. So now, what does it mean to chew the cud? So chewing the cud is what? Where you will see an animal eat something and then it regurgitates it again and chews it down again. Now, if you look at cows, they have about 3 stomachs. So what they do is they eat something, it goes into the first stomach, they regurgitate it, and then they chew it again, and then that way they get rid of all the nasty stuff that they've ate and only swallow the grass, and then that goes into their other stomach. So these animals which chew the cud, they have to, they call it ruminating. That's what they call it. They call it ruminating, and chewing the cud is eating your food, regurgitating it, and then swallowing it down again. Hold on, let me see if I can find you a video on YouTube of an animal chewing the cud so you know what it means. All right, hold on, let me just find this video. Let me go back to the StreamYard. Share. Skip the trailer. Yeah, okay. So now this is a cow chewing the cud. Look, this cow, it ain't eating nothing, it's chewing the cud, which means it's regurgitated what it ate earlier and it's chewing the cud. So this is what it has to do. So this is a cow chewing the cud. You don't see lions doing this. You don't see bears doing this. You don't see pigs doing this. So you can't eat them. This is what chewing the cud is. So these cows is chewing the cud right here. So this is what chewing the cud is talking about. So read that while we play the video. Read.
Yeah. And cheweth the cud.
And what?
And cheweth the cud.
So they're chewing the cud right here. So this is one of the criterias that the animal has to have in order for you to eat it. Go back up from the top.
Whatsoever part of the hoof and is cloven footed.
So now, if you look at these cows, they're cloven footed. So they part of the hoof, because why? Their foot has a split in the middle. So that's what cloven footed is talking about. And then cheweth the cud is this. They're not eating nothing, but they're chewing what they ate earlier. So they've regurgitated it, and now they're chewing the cud, chewing down what they ate earlier. So that's what chewing the cud is, in case you wanted to know. So chewing the cud is regurgitating what you've ate and then chewing it down again. So that's what these cows are doing. It's called Ruminating. That's the word they use. Ruminating.
Uh,
Hold on, let me see if I can.
Shalom. Am I on?
Let me see if I can pull up the word ruminating for you. See if I can get the definition. Oh,
Shalom.
Hey,
Oh, all right. I'm on.
hold on 1 second. Let me. How did Tazarpon get in here? I didn't know. Is in here?
Yo, never did I. was just like, what? What? The...
Um,
I'm in.
hold on, Tazarpon. Let me just turn this on.
I'm gonna come like ninja.
Yo, what? You know what I'm saying? Is it?
Oh, shit.
Support is
Hold on, I think
staying
this is
enrolled, making it easier.
Hey, Tazarpon, can you hear me?
Yeah, Khan, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, most of Christ.
Mm.
Say
A delay
something.
though. Delay. I could have heard you before, but you're a bit delaying now. So I can hear you,
What?
but the voice is delaying a bit.
What about now?
Khan, yeah. That looks towab now, yeah.
All right, let me see if I can pull up the word. So now, chewing the cud, the term they use today is called ruminating or ruminant. Let's see what that means. Go ahead.
I can hear you though, so you can continue, but yeah, you're still delaying a bit. It's lagging it with the voice and the your actions coming in.
Oh, it's lagging.
But you can just continue anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
So now, when you look up the word ruminate, it means chew the cud. Goats ruminated nonchalantly around them. So now, ruminate just means to chew the cud. So that's the criteria that the animals have to have in order for you to eat them. So they have to have that criteria. Go ahead, Potazor. What verse you at?
Verse 3.
Yeah, go ahead.
Among the beasts.
So now, among the beasts. So this is the criteria that the beasts have to have. So they have to have a cloven foot, and they have to chew the cud. Today they call it ruminating. So they regurgitate their food and chew it down again. And then what you will find is most of the cattle that almost all the cattle we can eat grass and herbs and plants. So that is their diet: herbs, grass, and plants. So then they eat those things, and then they chew the cud. But now what you will have is farmers put a nail in their cow's stomach or whatever, and then that way it sucks all the the metal that they eat sticks to the magnet, when that's not supposed to be so. You're supposed to keep your field clean so your cows can live. Because if you don't keep your field clean, what happens? Your cows then eat stuff that they're not supposed to eat, like they eat nails, which would probably do what, puncture their stomach or whatnot. But when people cared about their animals, you would make sure there'd be no sharp objects on your field, because obviously animals ain't the smartest. They're just going to eat the grass, and what comes up with the grass, they're going to end up eating. So now some farmers put a magnet in their cow's stomach to catch the nail and stop it from moving around, or some nonsense like that. But I read on.
That shall ye eat.
It says, that shall you eat. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud.
So now it's telling you what you shouldn't eat. Because why? There's some animals that chew the cud, but then they're not cloven-footed, but they chew the cud. Or there's some animals that chew the cud and they're cloven-footed, which means you can't eat them. They have to fit both criteria in order for you to eat them. Go ahead.
Or of them that divide the hoof.
Or of them that divide the hoof. Go ahead.
As the camel.
So now, what does the camel do? The camel chews the cud, but it's not cloven-footed. Now you'll look at a camel's foot and people will say it's cloven-footed. It's not. That's not a proper split. That camel's got toes and whatnot. That's not a proper cloven foot that the camel has. So you can't eat camels. Why? Because they're not cloven-footed, but they chew the cud. They do chew the cud, but they're not cloven-footed.
So
it has to be. Go ahead.
Khan, it's more like a padded feet, isn't it? Like a cat or a dog. More
yeah,
padded.
but while it is with camels, they don't have a proper split in their foot. So from looking at it, it might look like a split, but it's not a proper split. Theirs is built that way more, so they can dig their toes into the sand and walk through the desert and whatnot. So now everything serves a purpose. Like a camel is good if you need to get from A to B. A pig is good if you need garbage removed. So certain animals is good for its purpose. But what our oppressor does is looks at everything and thinks everything is food, when everything shouldn't be food. So this is why it's very important that we know the dietary law, because what you might be out and someone might offer you something that is unlawful to eat. Someone might offer you something which goes against God, which we can't eat. Go ahead. What verse you at?
Right.
Verse 4.
Go ahead.
Because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof.
So now he chews the cud, but it doesn't have a split hoof. His foot ain't split. Go ahead.
He is unclean to you.
He is what?
He is unclean unto you.
He is unclean unto you. So now, some animals which chew the cud but ain't cloven footed is zebras, camels, rabbits, what else is there? And a few others. I don't believe
Giraffe.
Nah, giraffe has a cloven foot as well.
Mm.
So giraffe has a cloven foot and chews the cud. But I'm sure no, horses don't chew the cud. No, they don't actually. Zebras chew the cud, but horses don't. But they come from the same family. So when you look up, I think they come from the family of Equidae or whatever. You know where they have all these weird names that they call them. So they all from the same family. So you'll find that I believe it's zebras, horses, and donkeys all come from the same family. But obviously they do different things, but they're all from the same family. But obviously we can't eat none of them because they're all unclean to us. So a horse is what? For traveling. Whereas I don't know what purpose a zebra serves, because a zebra, actually they say that they don't ride on zebras because zebras get aggressive and they're too unpredictable. So apparently they say zebras is not domesticated, so they don't ride on zebras. So that's why people ride on horses. Donkeys is the same, but we can't eat those because why? They ain't cloven footed, but they chew the cud. So rabbits chew the cud, hares chew the cud, but they ain't cloven footed. Why? Because they have paws, so you can't eat them. So rabbits is unclean, zebras is unclean, camels is unclean because they don't fit the criteria of both. Now they fit the criteria of one, but one's not good enough. They have to fit the criteria of both. Go ahead.
And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth.
And the coney is what? Old English for a rabbit. So the coney is Old English for a rabbit. And a rabbit chews the cud, meaning it regurgitates its stuff. But when you look at a rabbit's feet, it has paws. So you can't eat it. Why? Because it doesn't have a split hoof. So rabbits is unclean to us. Go ahead.
Right.
Because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof.
But he does what?
Cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof.
But he chews the cud, but he don't divide the hoof. So they chew the cud, meaning they regurgitate their food, but then they don't have a split hoof. Go ahead.
He is unclean unto you.
He is unclean unto you. So that's a few animals which chew the cud but ain't cloven footed. So now all the other animals that have neither of the two you can't eat. So animals which have neither of the two is cats, dogs, lions, bears, rhinos, cheetahs, all of those things, all of those animals, you can't eat them. Why? Because they don't fit the criteria of neither. Not even. So you can't eat those things. So the same way you can't eat the zebras, the horses, the donkeys, you can't eat lions, bears, because they don't fit the criteria of what we just read. Read on.
And the hare.
And the hare. So a hare is a big version of a rabbit. So like the coney, like which is Old English for a rabbit, is the rabbit that you'd obviously see nowadays. And then the hare is a big version of a rabbit, which they look massive. Chances are you probably never see, not in England anyway, you probably won't see one. But the hare is unclean to you also. Go ahead.
Because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof.
So now the hare chews the cud, but it doesn't divide the hoof. So it's unclean. Go ahead.
He is unclean unto you.
He's what?
He is unclean unto you.
So he's unclean unto us. Go ahead.
And the swine, though we divide the hoof.
So now the swine, the pig, it has a split hoof, but it doesn't chew the cud. So you can't eat pigs because they don't chew the cud. So in order for you to eat any animal, it has to have a split hoof and it has to chew the cud. That's talking about cattle and whatnot. So it has to do those things. If it don't do those things, then you can't eat it. Go ahead.
And be cloven footed.
And it has to be cloven footed, like we just showed when you look at a cow's foot. a sheep's foot, they're cloven footed. Go ahead.
Yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you.
So it's unclean unto you, meaning you ain't supposed to look at these things as food. These things ain't food. These things serve their purposes, but their purpose is not food. We ain't supposed to eat them. Go ahead.
Of their flesh shall ye not eat.
So it says, of their flesh shall you not eat. So all them animals we just mentioned that are unclean, we ain't supposed to look at them as food because they're unclean unto us. Go ahead.
And their carcass shall ye not touch.
And their carcass shall you not touch, meaning when they die, you don't touch them.
Right.
Why? Because they're unclean. And these animals, the reason you can't touch their carcass is why? Because these is animals that you don't kill for food. These is animals that would live and die by themselves. The reason why you wouldn't touch these animals to kill them, why? Because you can't eat them. So they would live until they die from some type of disease or old age or whatever. And when something dies by itself, it dies from something. So it's unclean. Why? Because if you touch it, you might then get what the animal died of. So you ain't supposed to touch it.
That's right.
And the reason why you can't touch their carcass is because we're not supposed to eat them. You're not supposed to touch them once they're dead. Now, if you've got, let's say you've got a camel that gets you from A to B, does it mean if you ride on this camel when it's alive, you're unclean? No, it doesn't mean that, man. You only become unclean once you touch its carcass, because that camel's job was to do what? Carry you from A to B. And then if that camel drops dead in the middle of the desert, guess what that means? That camel died from something. It means that that camel died from disease, old age, or whatever. And you ain't supposed to touch it. Why? Because then you become unclean. And then you need to stay away from the congregation. Why? Because whatever that died of, that infection, we want to see if you die from what that camel died of. So you need to stay away for a while. Whereas it's your job to do what? Kill cows, chickens, goats. Why? Because the reason you're killing those is for food. So now, how it's supposed to be is a goat is never supposed to live to see old age. A goat is never supposed to live to die at old age. Why? Because you're supposed to raise that goat, and then there comes a time when it's time to cut that goat's throat, and that goat becomes food, man.
Right.
So that's the purpose of the goat, but the pig's never supposed to become food. The camel's never supposed to become food. What verse you at?
Verse 8.
Go ahead.
They are unclean to you. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales in the waters.
So now it's getting down to the waters. It's saying these is what you can eat in the waters, which has what?
Fins and scales in
So
the
now
waters.
people get this scripture confused, and people think this is only talking about fish. This goes for everything in the waters.
Right.
Everything in the waters, if it don't have fins and scales, you can't eat it.
That's right.
Which means what? You can't eat shrimp, prawn. You can't eat octopus. You can't eat squid. Now this says, what? Read that part again.
These shall ye Salakia. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales.
So now, this is what you have to eat, which is in the waters. It has to have fins and scales. Now, eels or whatever doesn't have fins and scales.
That's
Octopus doesn't have fins and scales. So you can't eat those things.
Right.
Says whatever is in the water, anything that is in the waters that is living has to have fins and scales in order for you to eat it.
That's right.
Read on.
In the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers.
So whatever's in the waters, whatever's in the seas, in the waters, it has to have fins and scales, man.
That's
Go
right.
ahead.
Right.
Them shall ye eat.
Then what?
Them shall ye eat.
So now, the fish which has skins and scales in the waters is fish like snapper, tilapia,
Brim.
hake, brim, parrotfish, sea bass, salmon, carpfish, all of those things. So those fish have fins and scales. So now it would have to have scales along the body, and it would have to have fins. And then what do fins do? Fins help fishes swim. That's why they have fins. Fins help them move along the water, help them change their way around the water. This is why they have fins and scales. Now, they have fins for that reason, which helps them swim. Now, let's pull up a picture of fins, because obviously most listen, near enough every fish that you see would have fins, but not every fish has scales.
Right.
So there's certain fish that don't have scales, like swordfish doesn't have scales.
Catfish,
Catfish doesn't have scales.
piranha.
Piranha doesn't have scales. Hold on, let me pull up a picture of a
Eel.
fin. Eel doesn't have scales. Let me see if we can get a picture of. All right, so now let me just get this. Let me just get this picture. So now, these is. Can you see? Can you can see that picture is open, right?
Not yet. I'm just
Ain't come up on your one yet.
seeing if it-
Hold on.
No, yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
So now, these right here is the fins. So now what happens with these fins? It helps the fish to turn. It helps the fish to swim in the waters. It helps the fish to do what? Flee from the predators. That's why they have fins. Now, our oppressor, what did he do? He studies the Lord's creations. So he studies the Lord's creations. And then now, hold on. So the Lord put fins on fish to help them swim. So this man studied the Lord's creations. And hold on. Let me.
Salakia.
What was that? Was it? So now they study the Lord's creations, and then this is what they do. So they understood that fins helps the fish swim, so they've created these. So now this is what Esau's created from, stealing from the Lord's creations. So they do that. They look at the Lord's creations, and then they go to the lab and say, yo, well, we need to swim like the fish. Then they create things called fins, because they understand this is why it looks the same as a fin, because they understand this helps you swim.
Right.
So now they look at the Lord's creations, and then that inspires them to make everything that they have today. Today they call it what? Biomimicry, meaning they're mimicking life. They're mimicking the Lord's creations. So they've even given it a name, biomimicry. Now, how else did they mimic the Lord? How else did they copy the Lord's creations? With turtles and tortoises. They then made a shield based off how a tortoise, his shell is hard. That's why you will see a shield and a tortoise's shell is near enough the same shape, because they copied the Lord's creations. Now, this is why they made a plane. Why? Because they copied the birds. That's why when you look at a plane, it has two wings like a bird. Because they copied the Lord's creations. They copied how a bird lands and so forth. Now, when they made trains, they copied how an eagle's beak is, how an eagle swoops down on its prey without anybody seeing or hearing. They said, you know what? In order for our trains not to make this sonic boom noise when it exits the tunnel, let's look at creation. Then they looked at how a beak swoops down on its prey. So they said, okay, let's make it the same shape. And then this is where you get the bullet train from. So now you have the bullet train, which comes out of the tunnel and you don't hear a sonic boom no more. Because back in the days, the first train was so loud and noisy that everything would shake and it would hurt your ears, until they did what? Went to the Lord's creations and copied it. So don't let Esau fool you and you think, oh, he's all great because he's made all these things. He copies the Lord's creations, man. Stuff
That's
which
right.
the Lord made way back in Genesis, man. This man is still playing catch up till this day, and he still can't catch up with them creations.
That's right.
Read on before I go off way off topic. What verse you at?
Verse 10.
Yeah, go ahead.
Salakia. Verse 9. These shall you eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and the rivers, them shall ye eat.
So now it says, all in the waters with fins and scales, them shall you eat. Go ahead.
And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you.
So shrimp and prawns should be an abomination unto us.
That's right.
Those things should be an abomination unto us because it doesn't have fins and scales.
That's right.
So now the fins on the fish does what? Helps it navigate through the water. Now what's the scales for? The scales is so what? Parasites can't penetrate its skin, man. So that's why fish have scales. So parasites can't penetrate its skin, which means what? The fish won't get diseases
Right.
because it's got scales which protects the fish from getting diseases, whereas catfish doesn't have that protection.
Right.
Prawns don't have that protection. Oysters don't have that protection. It's unlawful to eat oysters also. People make out like oysters just sit at the bottom of the ocean. Oysters also move, man.
Right.
Oysters move. While it is you just see a picture of a shell, but what's inside that shell is moving, man.
Right.
That's
Oysters move, and oysters is unlawful. And
Right.
all this
Like-
squid and calamari, we can't eat it. It's unlawful because it
That's
has
right.
not what? It doesn't have fins and scales.
Right.
So we can't eat it, man. Whatever's in the water without fins and scales, we can't eat it. Go ahead, Tazapos. You're going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna drop in mussels as well. Mussels,
Yeah, that
clams,
too.
all those.
Mm.
Yeah. And Salaki, I was gonna want to add as well. Like these things, the Lord has done this for a reason because the clams, the mussels, and all, they're made to absorb the toxins. You understand, out of the waters and clean. You know all them oil spillage and all that stuff in it. So them things
Exactly.
are made clean. You know what I mean? The shelf, the crayfish, and the bottom feeders and all, they're meant to clean the ocean in it. So
Exactly.
their flesh is susceptible to the toxins. They won't die.
Right.
You know what I mean? And as you mentioned, the scales on the fresh fish, right, is to protect any disease from entering into the fish. So them ones are made to absorb those toxins and all that. So if you eat, then the Lord telling you the difference between them. Don't eat those ones because that you will be sick. You know what I'm saying? You will get poison from them ones. But this one is clean. You can eat these ones. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's true.
Mm.
So now it's their job to clean the seabed because what happens? Sharks and all these next animals in the waters defecate in the ocean. So the Lord's put something to clean them up,
Right.
to clean up the ocean. So it's their job. That will be their food. The bottom feeders, they're waiting for these sharks to do then to defecate in the water.
Do their
So they
dirty
can have
Salaki.
So they can have their dinner.
To do
So
their
now-
dirty work. Salaki.
Exactly. So they clean it up. So if you're eating what they're meant to eat, if you're eating these mussels and whatnot, which eats all the shark's feces, then you're eating the shark's feces,
That's
and then
right.
you're going to get sick. And this is why so much people get so much diseases, and they wonder why they're full of infection and full of diseases. Whereas the Lord said, the fish you can eat, I've kept it clean for you, man. It's got scales on, which means the parasites can't penetrate its skin. That's why the scales are there, man. You know, with the fish, when you're scaling it, them scales is hard to come off, man.
Mhm.
And them scales is like that for a reason. The Lord said those are the things you can eat. Now,
Right.
the ones that you can't eat is sharks. So you can't eat sharks. Why? Because if you know anything about sharks is smooth as could be, man. Sharks is smooth. Catfish, smooth. Rays, skates, chimeras, eels, paddlefishes, hagfishes, lampreys, oysters, prawns, shrimp, crabs, octopus. Those is things you can't eat. Why? Because they don't have fins and scales, man.
That's right.
They don't have fins and scales,
Right.
so you can't eat them. What verse you at?
And Salaki.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, and hence the term "shit for brains." You know, when this, you know, in the course, someone shit for brains. Like if you're eating, you are, and another term, you are what you eat. So if you eating, another term they use, Salaki, is crayfish brain. You know, like sometimes they call you a crayfish brain because the crayfish carries its doo-doo in its head. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a fish that you can't eat.
Right.
And that's a fish that you can't eat. But what? People just go out to sea and eat whatever they want to eat.
Right.
People eat whatever they want to eat. But the Lord gave us a dietary law of what we can and can't eat. So your fish has to have fins and scales, and then that way you won't get sick, because that fish is there for you to eat. That's why the fish that Christ ate was what? Clean fish. Now they say archaeologists, which was around that region that do excavations and so forth, they said the fish that Christ would have been eating would have been more than likely have been tilapia, because they said there's a lot of tilapia around that region. So they said, now it's not 100% certain that was the fish he was eating, but they said more than likely it could have been that fish. So when Christ fed the 5,000, he probably fed them with tilapia and all of that, because that is what clean fish, which have fins and scales.
Right.
What verse you at?
Verse 11.
Go ahead.
They shall be even an abomination unto you.
They shall be an abomination unto you. So now you're going to get sick if you're eating seafood boils,
Right.
because in them seafood boil bags, you got clams in there, you got prawns in there, you got shrimp in there, you got tons of abomination in that bag that you eat and you think, okay, this is good and it's healthy. No, man, those things are bad for you.
Right.
Read on.
Right.
Ye shall not eat of their flesh,
And we shouldn't eat them. Go ahead.
but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination.
So we should understand these things as abominations. Eat whale meat, shark meat. Listen, whales and sharks have a lifespan of like what, 70 years? The reason they have that long lifespan is because you ain't supposed to eat them, man. Let the whales live, man.
Right.
Let the whales and the sharks live. They have that long lifespan because we ain't supposed to be eating them. Read on.
Whatsoever have no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you.
Go ahead.
And these are they which shall, Salakia, which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls.
So now, the fowls is what? Birds that fly, birds in the air. So now it's letting you know, these is what you should have an abomination. Now, if you type in a fowl today, on the internet, we'll just tell you that fowl is poultry meat or chicken. But back then, a fowl meant any bird that flies.
Right.
So that's what it's talking about, a fowl. Go ahead.
They shall not be eaten.
They shall what?
They shall not be
Now
eaten.
it's letting you know which shall not be eaten. Go ahead.
Salakia, they are in an abomination.
So now the fowls is in an abomination, the ones that you can't eat. Go ahead.
The eagle
The eagle
and the ossifrage.
and the ossifrage. Now, all these, what you'll realize, all these is predator birds. You realize that all these birds, what we're reading about, is predators. So by you eating these, it's going to make you sick because you ain't supposed to consume the meat that they have. You ain't supposed to eat that kind of meat because it will make you ill. Because why? They're not to be eaten. Go ahead.
And the osprey and the vulture and the kite after his kind.
And the what?
And the kite after his kind.
And the kite after his kind. So these is all predator birds after his kind. So now, hold on. Let me see if I can find a few in here. Hold on. Me. Sorry, say that again. So now, show this one right here. So now, what we just read, the birds that you can't eat, the osprey and the vulture and the osprey. Show this right here. So these is the birds that you can't eat because these is what predators. You have to move it over a little, move it back a bit. Yeah. So you see all those birds you're seeing right there. Those is ones you can't eat. Read some of the names quarters are from there. And also, there's a bird called a turkey vulture. That's not the same as the turkey that you eat. The turkey vulture they call it the turkey vulture because it's a vulture that looks like a turkey. So that's how it got the name. So that's how it got the name. Like catfish got the name because it's got whiskers like a cat. So that's how certain animals get their names.
Salakia, you know that turkey vulture, what you're mentioning? Is it because of the neck, like the neck of the head of the turkey? It looks like that.
the face looks exactly like the turkey's.
Okay.
But it's a vulture. So Potters, I'll read some of them names. So this is when the Bible just said the birds that you shouldn't eat after its kind. It's talking about these birds right here. So read some of the names of them.
Andean condor.
The what?
Andean condor.
Point to them as you're reading them if you could.
Andean condor.
So you can't eat that Andean condor. You can't eat that. Why? Because these is birds of prey. Go ahead.
California condor.
You can't eat that one either.
black vulture.
Listen, man, them black vultures is scary as hell, man. Listen, you can't eat those either, because those is birds of prey. Black vultures. Go ahead.
Right.
Turkey vulture.
Go closer to the turkey vulture so they can see a picture of it. You see the face is up on.
That turkey,
So
yeah,
that-
that's the one I thought. Yeah, Cant.
Yeah,
That one
so
there.
that right there is a turkey vulture. So it
Right.
got the name turkey vulture because it's a vulture that looks like a turkey.
Right.
So that's how it got the name. And then the other ones on there is all birds of prey that you can't eat.
Mhm.
Why? Because they prey on other stuff. So yeah, they eat. They yeah, and the brother's right. A John crow is a turkey vulture. So the
Right.
other name for
Yeah.
the proper name for a turkey vulture is a John crow. So
John crow.
upright, you're correct. So the name that Caribbean people call it a John crow. And if you know anything about those, they eat anything.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. If you're tied up, they will eat you. So now, what these vulture birds eat is things like they eat mice, they eat rabbits, they eat snakes, they eat lizards, they eat frogs, they eat large insects. So these things eat rats and everything. That's what these vultures eat.
Right.
Swoop down on them and eat them. So now, if you want to know what birds are unlawful, all you have to do is
Look
basically
at what-
just get this book. Get this book right here. We'll let you know. It says birds of prey. So then you open the book to birds of prey, and you'll realize, okay, then the Bible mentions the ossifrae after its kind. So then you will type in what is the ossifrae, then the name will come up. Then you will see that it's in this book, and then you will find what its kind is, and then you'll realize, okay, then these is birds that I can't eat. That's it. I think that's probably. So then you'll realize those is birds that you can't eat. Let me see if there's any more on the next
Right.
page.
And Salakia,
Go ahead.
you know, like, yeah, I think you was going to mention it before, but like what you need to do, how you can find out what's unclean as well, for the most part, maybe not every single thingy, but look at what they eat or how they eat, what they, you know what I mean? Because they will eat dead carcasses that dieth of itself from whatever disease, and then, you know, it dies, and then they will swoop down and eat that dead carcass. So then when if you eat those disgusting things, you're putting into your body whatever the thing died of, that you know, that killed the beast before they eat that beast. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And then now this is more vultures. So on here it's got the bald eagle. What's some next name that's on there? It's got the bald eagle and everything else. So it's got all these disgusting vultures on there that you shouldn't eat. Pass it. There's a part that I wanted you to read in there where it lets you know about their diet. Hold on. Go to. You know what? And this even lets you know about how it says the bald eagle. This bird became the national symbol of the United States due to its fierce looks. It hunts mainly fishes, though it may also feed on ducks or carrion. It has also been known to steal food from other birds. So that's how America got the symbol of the bald eagle, because they send the fierce look. But I want you to read. Hold on.
And Salakia, your mic, Scott.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say check your mic as well, but yeah, like you said, they like to steal food from other birds. It's exactly how the Americans are. They like to steal other people's resources and everything else, man. You know,
Is my mic too up?
It's better now. Yeah, it's gone back up. Yeah.
All right, then hold on. So now read this one, the part where it says scavenging. So now these is scavenger birds. So this is what we're reading out of the book. So these is the vultures, that which is scavengers. So read that part on the side where it says scavengers.
Like other griffin vultures.
Can you hear him to top one?
A little low. Turn it up a touch.
Just move it from the camera and just read it, and then So now this is what it says about these birds that the Lord said we shouldn't eat. Go ahead.
Like other griffin vultures, repels griffins are gregarious birds. Several hundred may descend to feed on a carcass.
700 may what?
Descend to feed on a carcass.
And these scavengers eat carcasses. Listen, the
Right.
Lord said you can't touch a carcass. And these scavengers, it's there. You know why you don't touch the carcass? Because the scavengers will get rid of it for you, man.
Right.
You don't need
That's
to
right.
touch the carcass. The scavengers will get rid of it for you, man. All
Right.
these birds will descend on the carcass and eat the carcass. That's it. You can go back to the scriptures now. But this is a good book to have, man. If you're interested in animals and you want to know what to eat and what not to eat and all of them things. Take me back to Leviticus chapter. What verse was you at?
I think it's at 13, I believe.
Yeah, there was a 13. Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 13. And these are they which ye shall have in abomination.
So now, the ones that you shall have in abomination is the ones that we just showed you in the book. So it's going to name them now.
among
Now,
the-
obviously, the Bible is going to give you the old names for them. Because obviously, this is written in Old English. So what they was calling them at the time is the names that it will give you. Whereas now, they've updated the names and changed the names. But it's the same birds. Still vultures, still predators that you can't eat. Go ahead.
and the fowls, they shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, the ossifrage,
So now these is all the birds we just showed in the pictures. All these is predator birds. So all raptor birds are unlawful. All you have to do is go on the internet and type in raptor birds. Hold on, let me do it for you. Let me see if it comes up. Keep reading that.
and the osprey, and vulture, and the kite after his kind,
And we just read about the kite in the what's it called? Go ahead.
So like
every raven,
Go ahead to Zop one.
the ossifrage is the vulture.
Yeah, but that would be a old name for it. I believe that no, they still use that name till today. Actually, till today they still have that name, depending on obviously where you're reading about it.
Yeah, you know, in the insert in the Bible, it tells you, and it gives you the what it tells you what the ossifrage.
Does it give you the updated names as well?
Yeah, it just says ossifrage vulture.
Oh, but while it is they're all vultures though. So
Okay. Okay.
So
I
what
get
is-
you. I get you.
yeah.
Yeah.
so while is the basically a vulture is a term, whereas obviously they would have different names. So ossifrage would be a vulture, an eagle would be a vulture, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
vultures.
So
Yeah.
you could say they're basically all the same family, same species. So they're all vultures. But if you want to know, this is what you do. You just go on, you just type in raptor birds, and it will give you birds of prey. So you can't eat owls also. You can't eat falcons. This is the osprey right here, the golden eagle. So you can't eat them. And then you just type in that, and then it will give you the ones you can't eat. Let's see if this opens. So just type in this, and then it will give you all the birds of prey, and then you can write them down. So you can't eat owls, because what do owls do? Hunt at night, man.
Right.
They eat like snakes and rats or whatever they can get. They eat all of them stuff. So yeah, these are the ones you can't eat that we're reading of in the Bible. Go ahead. What is that?
and the owl,
And the what?
and the owl,
And we just showed you the owl. So listen, even our oppressor understands that an owl is a bird of prey. Now, all these birds that we're reading of, our oppressor has them all in the category of vultures and of birds of prey. So go ahead.
and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo,
All of them, go ahead.
and the hawk after his kind,
And after his kind, so what you would do, you'd realize that one bird, like you'd realize that one eagle is from a family of other birds, which is different eagles, but they're all from the same family. But usually with these birds, you can tell by looking at them that they're predators, that they're vultures and scavengers. You can tell because usually they have a large beak. They have a large beak, what? For swooping down and getting their food. Also, their feet also, and they have what? A very excellent eyesight. And the Lord made them that way for a reason, because they can fly in the air, and they're supposed to see a snake on the ground and go down and capture it. So that's why they have an excellent eyesight, because they're birds of prey, and that's their job. Go ahead.
and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl,
and the great owl, all of them. Go ahead.
and the swan,
Go ahead.
and the pelican,
Go ahead.
and the great eagle, and the stork,
And these is all raptor birds, all of them. All these birds is what? Now, some of them are more skilled than others, but they all predators. Well, yeah, go ahead.
the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat,
Go ahead.
all fowls that creep, going upon all four.
What verse you at?
Verse 20.
Go ahead.
Shall be an abomination unto you.
It says all what?
All fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you.
So now, does anyone know what this part's talking about?
Can, yeah. Oh,
Go ahead.
can I'd say that was the going into the bat now, being a fowl, a bird basically as well.
This right here,
That-
this one's going into like insects. So that's what it says. All fowls that creep up upon all fours. So these is talking about insects.
All right.
So it's letting you know the ones that creep up upon all fours is ones that you can't eat. And then this is why afterwards it mentions the locust, because it's going into insects. So the reason it says fowl is because the fly, if you get what I mean.
Can, yeah.
So that's what it says fowl. So this is going into insects. Go ahead.
Shall be an abomination unto you.
Go ahead.
Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing
Go ahead.
that goeth upon all four,
Go ahead.
which have legs above their feet.
So it says the ones that you can eat has to have legs above their feet. So now it's talking about locusts. Go ahead, because they have legs above their feet. Go ahead.
To leap without upon the
And then
earth.
now locusts have legs upon their feet, and they use their hind legs to jump. They jump up on their back legs. So they jump on their hind legs. So that's why you can eat locusts. Now the other insects, they don't jump up on their hind legs.
Right.
Other insects, actually read on, we'll get to it. Read on.
Even these of them may ye eat.
So now it's letting you know what you can eat, and really the only ones you can eat is the locust and the beetle. Go ahead.
The locust after his kind.
So the locust after his kind. So what is after the kind of a locust?
Grasshopper.
There you go, grasshopper. So you can eat the locust and a grasshopper. Go ahead.
And the bold locust.
And the bold locust. I'm sure the bold locust is the grasshopper, you know. I believe it is. I'm sure the bold locust is the grasshopper, from what I remember. Go ahead.
After his kind. And the beetle after his kind.
Yeah, I believe it is, because locusts and grasshoppers come from the cicadas family. So they come from, after his kind is the cicadas. So that's locusts, grasshoppers. They come from that family. So that's obviously after its kind. Go ahead.
And the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination.
No. Salakia, the locust family ain't the cicadas. I believe it's the acridae family. Hold on, let me check. Salakia, it's not the cicadas family, it's the acridae family. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Hold on, what is it? There you go. Let me screen share it. Hold on. So this is the family, the Acridae family. Acridae family. So there you go. So it says the Acridae are the predominant family of grasshoppers, comprising some 10,000 of the 11,000 species of the entire suborder. Acridae are best known. All locusts. See, so yeah, a locust is a grasshopper. So all locust swarming grasshoppers are of the Acridae. So that's the family. So that is the family of, you know, when it says after its kind. So this is the family of them. So this is the kind it's talking about.
Salakia.
Go ahead.
That won't have nothing to do with the praying mantis, innit? That's not the same family, is it?
Nah, different thing.
Right.
They only have 2 feet.
Yeah, so they only, I believe they only have 2. And what verse you at?
Verse 23.
Go ahead.
But all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you.
So everything else outside of the locust shall be an abomination unto you. So the wasp, the bees, the flies, the dragonfly, the ladybird, the mosquito, the moths, the flying ants, the ladybugs, all those things shall be unclean unto you. All of them shall be unclean unto us. What verse you at?
Verse 24.
Go ahead.
And for these ye shall be unclean.
And now, for those things, you shall be unclean. Go ahead.
Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until even.
So even if you kill a fly, unclean, because that's the carcass.
Wow.
You touch a dead rat, you're unclean. That's the carcass. So what you want to do is, if you've got a dead rat in your house, you want to take it out with gloves.
Right.
So you're not actually touching the carcass. So you want to take them things out with gloves. Because if you don't, like to us, we just look at it as, a fly. That's only small. While the Lord says, whoever touches the carcass of them is unclean. So,
Right.
go ahead.
And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his
And
clothes
whoever carries them is also unclean. Go ahead.
and be unclean until the even.
Go ahead.
The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof and is not cloven footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you.
Same thing again. Go ahead.
Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean.
Go ahead.
And whatsoever goeth upon his paws,
Whatsoever what?
goeth upon his paws,
So like we was talking about paws, whatsoever go upon its paws. Go ahead.
among all manners of beasts
Go ahead.
that go on all 4,
Go ahead.
those are unclean unto
Says
you.
whatever goes on all fours is unclean unto you. So now there's cats, dogs, bears, raccoons, lions, weasels, rodents, wolves, tigers, rabbits, all of those things. Those things go on their paws. So they're unclean unto you. So we can't touch them or nothing.
Right.
Can't eat them. None of that. Can't touch their dead carcass. Go ahead.
Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until even.
Go ahead.
And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes.
And now, if you touch the carcass of them, you have to wash them clothes, meaning you have to put them in water. Go ahead.
And be unclean until the even.
Go ahead.
They shall, Salakia, they are unclean unto you. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth.
Go ahead.
The weasel,
The weasel, like we just said. The weasel's unclean. It's got paws, don't chew the cud. Go ahead.
and the mouse,
And the mouse doesn't chew the cud.
and the tortoise
And the tortoise also. Go ahead.
after his kind,
After his kind, the tortoise, all of them. Turtles, all of them. Go ahead.
and the ferret,
And the ferret. Go ahead. Guinea
And-
pigs, all of them things is unclean, man. All of them. Go ahead.
and the chameleon,
Go ahead.
and the lizard,
And the lizard's unclean, man. Go ahead.
and the snail,
And the snail is unclean. Go ahead.
and the mole.
Go ahead.
These are unclean to you among all that creep.
And the animals that creep is those are unclean to you. Go ahead.
Whosoever doth touch them when they are dead shall be unclean until even.
So you're unclean until the sun goes down. If you touch them, go ahead.
And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean.
So now, if a dead fly falls in your drink, you can't drink that drink no more. That drink's become unclean. If a dead fly falls on your clothes, those clothes, you're unclean and them clothes have become unclean. Whatever it falls on, you need to wash them. To you, it might just be, oh, this is just a little fly. But whatever it goes on, then becomes unclean. Whatever the carcass goes on, go ahead.
Whether it be any vessel of wood,
Wherever it be any vessel of wood. So if they drop and die on something, whatever they drop on becomes unclean. The chair becomes unclean, meaning whoever then sits on it becomes unclean. So what you would do, you would quarantine that chair. You take that chair, clean it up around the back and quarantine it. Go ahead.
or raiment,
Or your raiment goes on your clothes unclean. Go ahead.
or skin,
Go ahead.
or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water.
So now if they fall in your cup, listen, I don't care if you spend £500 on this bottle. If a dead fly falls in there, that bottle's good for nothing. It's unclean now, man. You have to get rid of that bottle. Go ahead.
And it shall be unclean until the even,
Go ahead.
so it shall be cleansed.
Go ahead.
And every earthen vessel.
And then your clothes and stuff is unclean till the evening. So you would then wash your clothes, and then in the evening they're now considered clean. Go ahead.
Wherein to any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean.
So now, does anyone know what an earthen vessel is?
And that's like your pots, what you cook in, and you have your food and stuff in.
Yeah, so it's
Baking.
those things which is made with clay. So you would have a clay pot or whatever. So oftentimes, because it's clay, you would have to break it. Because it's an earthen vessel, meaning they go get clay and make it. And so then you'd have to break it if something unclean falls into it and whatnot. Go ahead.
And ye
So
shall
like it.
break.
Go ahead.
Oh, right. Just getting into it. Go on. Read on. I was gonna ask if you can't wash it or whatever, but it's saying you shall break it. Go on. Read on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of all meat which may be eaten.
So now, everything you don't have. So okay, go ahead.
So like here, did it say break? I was hearing break it or something.
Did it say break? Go up, because earthen vessels, certain things that you would have to break, like say for instance, certain chopping boards. If you put meat on the chopping board, that blood you can't see it, but it's soaked through the wood in the chopping board. So there's certain things which is made out of certain materials that you would have to throw away because it can't ever become clean. Whereas now, obviously, your plates today, you wouldn't need to throw them away. But personally, if a rat went on one of my plates, I'd throw it away personally. That's what I'd do. I wouldn't use it again.
Yeah.
So I'll throw it away. If a rat went in my cup, I'm throwing that cup away. I'm not going to rinse it out and say it's no. I'm throwing that cup away. So you can see that what black people ain't changed much. Certain dirty things that would happen back then, we'll just break the vessel. Why? Because they don't want to eat nothing that anything filth has been on. So they're looking at it as like, this is disgusting. I'll just throw it away and make the next one. Go ahead, Kotazor.
Verse 34. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean.
So now, if something unclean, and then you put that something water that's unclean onto fallen meat or whatever, or that meat's become unclean. So that meat was clean because say it's chicken, but let's say a rat dropped dead in a bucket of water. You accidentally pour that water on the chicken. That chicken's become unclean now. So you have to do what? Throw away that chicken. Go ahead.
And all drink that may be drunk.
And all drink that may be drunk, like we said, if a dead fly ends up in your drink, you have to throw that drink away because that drink has become unclean. I wanted to get into something else. Is there much left on this chapter, or is it all basically saying?
Nah, not much, you know.
Is it all basically saying the same thing?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Go ahead. Tazar.
Yeah, so like here, but there's like to sum it up, 46 or 45 down to 47.
Yeah, jump down to 45 for time's sake.
Verse 45. For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land.
Give me verse 41.
41. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination.
So now, every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth shall be an abomination. Read on.
It shall not be eaten.
Read on.
Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, or whatsoever have more feet.
So now it says whatsoever have more feet. So the reason you can't eat most of these insects is why? Because most insects have 6 legs. If you look at a lady, I'm sure a dragonfly has 6 legs. I'm sure a ladybird has 6 legs. Hold on, let me check.
Ladybird, I think, has 8, Salakia.
Yeah, something like that. Something crazy like that.
And you got centipedes and millipedes with about 140 legs.
Nah, the ladybird has 6. Hold on one sec.
That's 6.
Let me just share it. So this is why you can eat these things, because if you look at the ladybird, you see them legs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is why the Lord said whatever has more than 4 legs. So these have 6 legs. Right. Whereas, so that's what that scripture right there is talking about. So we can't eat these also. All these is unclean. You'll see that dragonflies and all these things have multiple legs. And they look disgusting anyway. Why would you even want to eat them?
Go on.
Like, why would you even want to touch them? Jump down to 45 or 46 so we can conclude it.
Verse 45. For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy.
Go ahead.
This is the law of the beasts.
So this is the law of the beast. So we went over that whole law of the beast. These is things that we can and can't eat. So now, vegetarians shouldn't be telling us you shouldn't eat meats, this and that, because the Lord said right there what we can and can't eat.
Oh, that's
Right.
Give me a... So now also, a quick way to understand it is all amphibians are unlawful. So amphibians is what? Frogs, salamanders, Sicilians. Oh yeah, and by the way, lizards ain't amphibians. Lizards are reptiles, because I hear some people say lizards are amphibians. All reptiles are unlawful as well.
right.
But it depends who you ask, because some people classify birds as reptiles, depending who you ask. So some people classify, some scholars or whatever will classify birds as reptiles. So reptiles, which we can't eat, which is unlawful, is things like turtles, snakes, lizards, alligators, tortoise, crocodiles, iguanas. And in the Caribbean, they like iguana soup. Now, you can't eat iguanas because iguanas is reptiles.
Right.
That's right.
So,
mountain chicken, they call it in Montserrat and different places in the Caribbean like that as well. Frogs, man. We can't eat frogs, man. Disgusting
man.
frogs, man. You know
Like,
what I mean?
to catch a frog and and cook, eat frog legs and all of those things are disgusting, man.
Right.
So also, all rodents are unlawful. So now rodents are what? Squirrels, rats, guinea pigs, beavers, hamsters, chinchillas, and gerbils. Those kind of things is rodents. So you can't eat those things because those things is unlawful.
Right.
So yeah. What else do I want? So now give me.
So like you didn't finish up that
I'll finish up that fifth box. Lucky.
yeah. Go.
Lucky finish up that.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the law of the beasts
This is the law of the beast. Go ahead.
and of the fowl
And of the fowl
and of every living creature
and of every living creature. Go ahead.
that moveth in the waters
Go ahead.
and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth,
Go ahead.
to make a difference between the unclean and the clean.
And this is to make a difference between the unclean and the clean. That's what this law is about. So you can know what is clean and what is unclean. So that's what this whole chapter is about. The difference between animals is clean and unclean. That's all. Give me Romans chapter 14 and verse 1. Also, red meat. Now, there's people who always say, "Oh, I don't know how you like eat meat and red meat." So people make red meat is what, like lamb, beef, goat, and bison and stuff. Things like that is red meat. And then what they call white meat is chicken and turkey, because white is pale in color. So give me that right there, because obviously vegetarians and meat eaters always argue, whereas if you don't want to eat meat, you don't have to eat meat. That's what the Bible says.
Right.
So we're going to get that right now.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 14 and verse 1. Him that is weak in the faith.
Him that is what?
Him that is weak in the faith.
Him that is weak in the faith. Go ahead.
Receive ye.
So now a man that's weak in the faith, still receive him, because he's your brother. So there's some men who only eat herbs. So there's some men who only eat herbs because they believe meat is poisonous, meat is gonna kill them, meat's not of God or whatever. Now, if you feel like that, then don't eat meat.
Right.
But it's wrong of you to push it on other brothers not to eat meat.
That's right.
It's wrong of you to force brothers to be vegetarian. We shouldn't do that. And it's wrong of brothers who eat meat to force someone who's vegetarian to eat meat.
Right.
So, brothers, if you want to eat meat, that's fine. If you don't want to eat meat, that's fine. because the kingdom of heaven has nothing to do with food and drink. It's about righteousness. So you can eat meat if you want, and if you don't want to eat meat, you don't have to. So this is what people who don't eat meat usually go to say to you, you shouldn't eat meat, you're gonna die, this and that. Hold on, let me share it. And they're partly right. So now it says red meat such as beef, lamb, and pork. Obviously, we don't eat pork. It says it's a good source of protein, vitamins, and minerals, and can form part of a balanced diet. But eating a lot of red and processed meat increases your risk of bowel cancer. So now it says that's why it's recommended that people who eat more than 90 grams cooked weight of red and processed meat a day cut down to 70 grams or less. This could help reduce your risk of bowel cancer. So now a vegetarian will get that and show you this. You keep eating red meat, you're going to get bowel cancer. Listen, man. This is why you eat meat. We eat meat in moderation, man.
Right.
Like we eat meat in moderation. Now that's what they will get to show you that you're going to die. Let me get something else that you might die from.
GMOs.
Hold on.
The GMO vegetables.
Let me see if this is the one that I want. Hold on. You know what? I had a better one than this one, but I'll just use this one for now. So now they say eating too much red meat can give you bowel cancer, right? Hold on, this ain't letting me. Hold on, is this letting me? So yeah, the mode about eating too much meat can give you bowel cancer. So what about this? It says drinking too much water can be deadly, doctors warn. There's a thing called water intoxication. So even if you don't drink water in moderation, you can die, man. You can die from not drinking water in moderation. So you can't just look at meat and say, oh, eating red meat's going to kill you, this and that. Listen, drinking too much water will kill you if you don't do it in moderation, man.
Right.
Give me Colossians chapter 3 and verse 5. But hold that because we're coming back there. So everything you have to do in moderation. If you eat meat, do it in moderation, man. I mean, if you drink excessively alcohol, you're going to kill yourself because you're going to damage your liver. You have to do these things in moderation. So vegetarians shouldn't tell us, oh, you keep eating meat, you're going to die. Listen, you will die if you do anything of too much, man.
Right.
You will die if you, listen, you will die if you drink too much water. You will die if you eat too much vegetables. If you do too much, man, you will die. So this is why you have to do things in moderation. Listen, man, we eat meat in moderation. We understand we're not going to eat a whole chicken every single day.
Right.
We understand we're not going to eat a whole goat every single day. We eat in moderation, man. Give me Colossians for chapter 3 and verse 5.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 5. Mortify therefore your members.
This means discipline yourself. That's what we do, man. We ain't gluttons in here, man. Listen, when we eat chicken and rice, guess what? We have more rice than chicken. That's what we do. Especially if you go to these Caribbean shops, by default, you get more rice than, and by default, by default, you're getting about 10 grams of chicken maximum. The NHS app said we can eat up to 70 grams, man.
Right.
These Caribbean shops, 10 grams. Listen, man, we're fine, man. We know what we're doing, man. We're fine. Read on.
Which are upon the earth, Salakia,
Go ahead.
fornication, uncleanliness, inordinate affection.
Read that part again.
Inordinate affection.
Inordinate affection. What does that mean, man? That means when your affection for something is too big. Inordinate means it's too big. So inordinate affection is what? It's fine to eat fried chicken, but if you eat 2 buckets of KFC chicken a day, you're going to die because you have an inordinate affection. Now, it's good to eat cake, but if you eat too much cake, you're going to become diabetic from all the sugar.
Right.
Why? Because you have an inordinate affection.
Right.
So it's okay to eat meat, man. but everything has to be done in moderation.
That's right.
So
Right.
everything that we do it in moderation. Now let me get the last thing that I wanted to go into. Basically, people say we shouldn't eat meat because our teeth is. Basically, they say we have. Hold on. Let me do Deuteronomy 14 real quick. Let's see if I can quickly get. So there's people that say we shouldn't eat meat. Read that for me.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 1.
Yeah, go ahead.
And verse 1. Ye are the children of the Lord your God.
Jump to verse 2.
Verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord like Salakia. Unto
Verse
the
3.
verse 3. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
Go ahead.
These are the beasts which ye shall eat:
Go ahead.
the ox,
The ox. Go ahead.
the sheep,
The sheep. Go ahead.
and the goat.
And the goat. So now, if you look at all these animals that we mentioned, they're all herbivores. So you know what a herbivore is, right?
Animal that eats plants.
Yeah, animal that
Right.
eats grass, plants. So that's what a herbivore is. So now, when you look at all the animals that the Lord said we could eat, the herbivores, they all have flat teeth. So people come to you and say, well, we have flat teeth, so we shouldn't eat meat. Hold on, let me show you. So now, this is flat teeth. So they say we have teeth like this. So they say we should be herbivores. Because they say, yo, if these animals eat grass and plants and they have flat teeth, I mean, you've heard that before, Tazar, our teeth ain't designed to eat meat, right?
I've kind of briefly, yeah.
So that's what they say. So they say, Asaki, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I don't take no notice of that whatsoever, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm eating meat. I don't care about no vegetarians, man. They can go and eat that. You know what I'm saying?
So they say animals have flat teeth and they eat plants, and we should have flat teeth. Well, we do have flat teeth, to say. But when you look at our mouth, we have molars, so it's not completely flat. We
Right.
have some short canines,
Canines, right.
which means what? It's only right. We're allowed to be. Listen, I'm an omnivore, man. Listen,
right.
I put salad in my burger, man.
Right.
I put salad in my Big Mac.
Right.
That's
I'm an omnivore, man. So now this is what they say. They say we should have flat teeth like this because we're not supposed to eat meat according to them. Now let me get you. Say if the Lord designed us to eat meat, we would have. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. All right, yeah, let me just screen share this one. Times 8. So they say if the Lord designed us to eat meat, they say we would have teeth like this. Oh, is the sharing? Hold on. So, hold on, let me go back. This is hold on, let me scroll down. Where's it? Oh. So they say if the Lord designed us to eat meat, we would have teeth like, you see this? They say we would have carnivore teeth like this. Like this here. They say we would have teeth like this. They say that what? Our teeth is closer to herbivore teeth because they say we're supposed to eat plants and we're supposed to eat grass or whatever we're supposed to eat. They say if the Lord designed us to eat meat, we would have teeth like this. That's what they say. So they say we would have teeth like this if we were supposed to eat meat. So a vegetarian said that to me, and then I had to break it down to him. I had to say, wow, the carnivores. I had to say, wow, lions have teeth like that. Why? Because they're out in the wild, man. They have to catch their meat. They have to chase their meat through the jungle and bite its neck, man. I said, first of all, a lion doesn't have hands where he can use a knife and fork and cut that tender meat, man. I said, a lion doesn't have an oven where he can cook the meat until it's tender, man.
Right. What?
Listen, man.
Salakia, what's that?
So say that
Salakia,
again.
what's that term again when you cook the steak? How? What is it again?
What, the
You
myoglobin.
had that myoglobin, man.
That's you. So
Right,
the steak's nice and soft. So listen, man, we don't have the reason we don't have them teeth is why? Because we cook our meat and we don't have to go out in the wild and catch it like lions do. You do know a lion has to bite. A lion has to bite for a horse or zebra's neck and penetrate the skin. They need those sharp teeth to do that, man.
Right.
Now we don't need those kind of teeth. Why? Because we have a knife and fork where we can just cut it into
That's
nice
right.
bite-sized. Listen, the lion can't cut his meat into bite-sized chunks, man.
That's right.
And
That's
take what
right.
they do. The lion has paws and he ain't got hands where he can use a knife and a fork, whereas we can use a knife and a fork. So we don't need to have teeth like that to eat meat, man.
That's right.
We can have, and guess what? The teeth that we have is fine for eating meat, man. It's fine. It works just fine. I had to say that to a vegetarian. He couldn't answer me. I had to say to him, "Well, does the lion have a knife and fork to cut his meat?" No, he don't, man. The lion has to rip the flesh straight off the bone, and we can't eat raw meat like that, man. If you do know about raw meat that they get is tough, so they need teeth like that, man. Whereas we cook our meat thoroughly, and also to avoid salmonella poisoning, make sure you cook your food thoroughly, man. Make sure you cook your meat thoroughly, because what does cooking your meat thoroughly do? It kills all the parasites and all the feces or whatever. It kills all the filth. Once you cook your meat thoroughly, that way you don't end up with salmonella poisoning. Now, they said people get salmonella poisoning from undercooked food and eating seafood. Why? You shouldn't be eating certain seafoods, man.
Right.
No matter how much you cook that, you're still going to get poisoning and salmonella because you shouldn't be eating seafood. Now, you have to cook your meat thoroughly to avoid salmonella poisoning, man. And that's what we're doing here. Cook our chicken and meat thoroughly, man. But take me back to Romans 14:1 and just read this last verse. Read it, and then we'll do the announcement. Just like I say that again.
And wash it thoroughly as well. You know what I'm saying? Before you cook it,
Wash
you
it
get
thoroughly as well. Exactly. And a brother Upright said, some say the herbs for meat was before the flood. That's a lie. Actually, afterwards, I'm gonna get one more precept to give you the understanding on that, and then after that we can run.
Romans 4 and verse
Give me Romans 14 and verse 1.
Romans chapter 14.
So like to up on you, get me Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 47, 46 or 47. Read Romans 14 and 1 for me.
Romans chapter 14 and verse 1. Him that is weak in the faith, receive ye.
So a brother that's weak in the faith, we must receive him also. He don't want to eat meat. That's fine, man. You're still my brother. Listen, obviously all the brothers that are in the school know that I don't drink. But the brothers that do drink, they receive me, man. Right. Now that don't mean I'm weak in the faith. I just don't like alcohol. It's just not for me. I just don't think it tastes. I just don't think it tastes nice. Quatazar would disagree, but that's fine.
It's because it's weak in the faith.
Listen, everybody knows. Usually see me with the water. So now, brothers that drink, me and them don't argue about it because I know it's not unlawful to drink, and they know it's not lawful. They know it's not unlawful for me not to drink. Right. So we have an understanding now. I can't force it on brothers in here. Don't drink. It's wrong. It will damage your lip. I can't do that. Why? Because the Bible says they're allowed to drink, so they're allowed to drink.
Right.
These are the same things with vegetarians and meat eaters. Understand if one man wants to eat meat, he's allowed to. One man wants to eat herbs, he's allowed to. Read on.
But not to doubt for disputations.
But not for doubt for disputations, man. We ain't supposed to come in here and fight over meat and drink. We ain't supposed to fight over meat and herbs. We're supposed to be one body and tight, man.
Right.
If a brother wants herbs, that's fine, man. If a brother wants meat, that's fine. We ain't supposed to fight over those things. But for time's sake, take me to
what was it? Leviticus?
You hold Leviticus. Get me Leviticus 11 and 46 and Quatazar. You get me hold on, let me find it.
Salakia, you sure Leviticus 11 and 46, the beast?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, the same. Okay, cool.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, right, I got it.
Hold on. All right, Quatazar, you get me you get me Genesis 7 and 2. So upright, obviously we was eating meat before the flood. I'll just quickly prove it. So give me Genesis 7 and 2.
Genesis chapter 7 and verse 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7.
So now it says, of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7s. So how did Noah know about clean and unclean beasts? Because he had the law. Now to Zarpan, read what you've got. Let's read what the law of the beast is for. Go ahead.
Cant. Leviticus 11 and verse 46. This is the law of the beast and of the fowls and of every living creature that moveth in the waters.
Go ahead.
Cant. And every creature that creepeth upon the earth.
Go ahead.
Cant. Verse 47. To make a difference between the clean and the unclean,
Read on.
and between the beasts that may be eaten.
Hold on.
and
Between the
beast-
what? Wait. Go slow
and
down. Between the what?
Can, and between the beast that may be eaten.
So the clean and the unclean, between the clean and the unclean animal, the only difference between the two is which ones can be eaten and which ones can't be eaten. So Quatazar, read that verse one more time.
Can, verse 47 again. To make a difference between...
It's like once Quatazar, read Genesis 7 and 2 again.
Genesis chapter 7 and verse 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7.
So now here it says, every clean beast take to thee by 7. Now to Zarpan, read the last part of what you was just reading about what the clean and unclean beast is for.
Can. And between between the clean and the unclean, and between
So
the
difference
beast
between the difference between the clean and the unclean is what? Read.
that may be eaten.
That what?
That may be eaten.
So now the difference between the clean and the unclean beast, the only difference is what? Is which may be eaten. Right. So the reason why Noah knew what he could eat, the reason why Noah knew about clean beasts is because Noah knew between the clean and the unclean beast is of what could be eaten.
Right.
So what you will find even with life today, with the clean beasts that we're allowed to eat, there's way more of those than unclean beasts. So now the reason why so much animals go extinct is because all these other nations is eating animals that they're not supposed to be eating. And if you know anything about the ark, Noah brought the unclean beast 2 by 2, meaning he only brought 2 of them. Why? Because he's not supposed to eat them. The reason he brought 7 is because one day he might want some chicken. Right. One day he might want some lamb. One day he might want some goat. So that's why Noah brought 7 by 7. So the only difference between clean and unclean is what can be eaten, what cannot be eaten. And Noah took clean beasts because Noah understood he could eat meat. Noah understood what beast he could eat and what beast he couldn't. That's why he took 7 clean animals, while took clean animals by 7, unclean by 2. He took less of 2. Why? Because he knows he's not going to eat the 2 that are there. But he brought 7 in case he wants to eat some chicken, some lamb, some goat. And that's proof that Noah, that's proof that we was eating meat before the flood, because Noah put clean animals on the ark before the flood. So that's proof that we was eating meat before the flood. I hope that answers your question. Go ahead.
And Salakia, even Cain and Abel, or Abel rather, right. Abel was a keeper of sheep, man. Abel was raising sheep. So what would he have been raising the sheep to do? Throw them away. You know what I'm saying? Sell them. For what purpose? Why would you raise sheep? You know what I'm saying? And he made an offering unto the Lord. You got to take, when you make an offering unto the Lord, you got to take the best of the flock and to offer as a sacrifice, which the Lord was pleased with. And then when you offer that sacrifice, what do you do with it? You eat it, man.
Right. That's right. And then with that, that brings us to the end of the class. Clap it up. We're going to do the security announcement.
Right. This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K started off 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18 and verse 21. Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 to 10. means 10th in Hebrew, Maya Sha'ara, 10% of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for the priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocations.
Feast of Purim, 14th and 15th.
Or Akem and Akwaf, check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirts, headbands, and scarf. To that, we say Admadiam. Ahmadiyam Shabbat, Ahmadiyam, Barak, Yahaba Shem Yashar Bakathab,
Yahaba Shem Yahshua Kapam.
Yad Yamata. Class dismissed.
All right, Shalom Israel will be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. We'll be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. with Captain Parasha. All right, Shalom. 8 is up on Shalom Yahba Shabbat Kafar.
Shalom, Yahweh Hashem Shukata.